Story 1, The Man by the Shed. We arrived back at the barn about an hour and a half before sunset. As we drove by, we noticed the lights were off, probably on a timer to save energy. The fire ring hadn't been delivered yet either, which was disappointing. We started the grueling 30-minute setup in the sticky heat, then rewarded ourselves by sitting in the air-conditioned car. Rain clouds gathered quickly, so my boyfriend and I pulled out a card game to wait it out. It only lasted about 10 minutes, and the tent held up fine, so we felt safe enough to step out. Needing to use the bathroom, we started walking toward the barn. As we crossed the small creek, we heard something from the direction of the shed, like someone moving things around inside. It was unsettling, but I tried to calm myself by suggesting it was just old equipment making that post-use creaking noise. When we reached the barn, we saw the fire ring had been delivered, but the lights were still off. None of the switches worked, which made us think the power had been cut, or maybe it was still just the timer. We stepped outside and got about 10 feet away when we heard a hum. The power suddenly came back on, from somewhere on the far side of the shed. Odd, but we decided to use the bathroom while we had power. The second we stepped inside, everything went dark again. That's when I felt it, that deep, primal sense of wrongness. I looked at my boyfriend and said, half joking, maybe they're watching us. Then quickly added, no, that's actually worse. We turned back. The lights flicked on again. My boyfriend didn't hesitate. We need to leave, he said. I felt the same gut-wrenching fear in my core. We moved fast, returned the fire ring to the barn, and as we did, the barn lights began to flicker. We briskly walked, never ran. I'm from Appalachia. You don't run in situations like this. We tore down our setup in 5 minutes flat. Everything went into the car in a frenzy. I thanked God the rain hadn't gotten us stuck in the mud. As we reached the road, just before pulling onto the pavement, my boyfriend looked back, and there he was. A man. Standing beside the shed. Watching us. As my tires hit the road, a text came in from Mary, the host. Hey. The fire ring's out by the barn now. You're welcome to stay inside if the rain messed up your setup. We booked a hotel. Safety was worth the price. At check-in, the elderly woman behind the counter asked if we were okay. We hesitated, then told her what had happened. She grew pale. Have you seen the news lately? We hadn't. She told us about couples who had gone missing, campers. 3 still missing. 1 found barely alive, slashed and dumped on the freeway. Still recovering in the hospital. She wouldn't say where exactly, but her expression told us everything. We had been too close. Later, we texted Mary, letting her know we wouldn't be staying. Thank you for staying with us, she replied. I locked the hotel door and broke down in tears. That feeling at the barn, raw, primal, choking, I'll never forget it. To the man by the shed, let's never meet again. Story 2, The Parking Lot Temper. I've read that we learn our tempers from our parents. My mom would bottle hers up, then release a year's worth of frustration all at once. My dad, though, he let it out immediately. No filter. I took after him. It wasn't always pretty. Sometimes my temper got me in trouble. But one time, it might have saved my life. It was the mid-70s. I was 20, living in California, going to college full-time, and working part-time at the West Covina Fashion Plaza. Because I was just an employee, I had to park far out, leave the close spots for paying customers. I didn't mind. I liked the walk. But one night, after closing, I was fuming. I just found out I was passed over for an office position I really wanted. At the time, I didn't consider how hard it would be to juggle full-time work and school. I just knew I was mad. So I stormed out into the empty parking lot, replaying every injustice in my head. My steps were sharp, fast. I was muttering under my breath, probably swearing too. I reached the fourth level of the open-air parking garage where I had parked. It was around 9:30 p.m., and dead quiet. On my way up, I passed a woman getting into her car, but after that, I was alone. Or so I thought. A man was walking behind me. He started far back, but by the time I reached the top, he was close. Too close. I didn't feel fear, though. I was too angry. Too tired. I figured he was just going to make a pass. And he picked the wrong woman for that. I could hear his footsteps speeding up. Without hesitation, I spun around mid-stride, thanks to years of dance training, and glared straight into his face. What? Not what do you want? Just, what? Blunt. Harsh. Daring. He froze. I saw the shift in his expression, surprise, then awkward panic. He turned stiffly and walked away. Back into the stairwell. Gone. Weird, I thought. But I didn't dwell on it. I got in my car and drove off, still fuming. On the way down, I saw him again, lurking around other cars on a lower level. Later that night, I told my friend Patty about it. She was the first to say it, you could have been hurt. I laughed. That guy? He's lucky he got away from me. A few weeks later, word spread, some guy had been following women to their cars in the lot and assaulting them. He was eventually caught, he used a knife. They think he escalated after a failed attempt. Maybe that was my night. Maybe I scared him off. Maybe my temper, flawed as it was, saved me. There's no public record I could find now. It's been buried under newer, fresher crimes. But I know what happened. And I know this. Sometimes, it's good to lose your temper. Story 3, The Thing in the Woods. This happened about 10 years ago, and I've only told a few people. It's still the most terrifying thing that's ever happened to me. I grew up in a tiny town in northern Georgia. Real small, like, one gas station small. If you've ever driven near the Blue Ridge Mountains, you know the vibe. Misty forests. Old train tracks. Quiet hills. I lived on the edge of town, just before the woods swallowed the landscape. My best friend, Caleb, lived a few miles deeper in. We'd hang out all the time during summer, walking between houses using the old railroad tracks that cut through the hills. The road was longer, added an hour. So the tracks were our shortcut. I'd walked them 100 times. Until that night. It was mid-July, humid, and dark. I grabbed a cheap flashlight and told my mom I was heading to Caleb's. No moon. No stars. Just black. The only thing keeping me oriented was the crunch of gravel and the glint of rails under my flashlight. About 20 minutes in, I heard movement in the woods to my left. Probably a raccoon or deer. I stopped to listen. The sound stopped too. I kept walking. Crunch. Crunch. Then, crash. Something huge tore through the trees beside me. I spun the flashlight toward the sound. Nothing. Just darkness. I took a step. It took a step. Then suddenly, it bolted, right across the tracks, just a few feet ahead. I heard gravel spray. A deep, guttural snort. Not human. Not animal. Something else. The air went cold. I don't mean metaphorically. I mean it actually chilled. I stood frozen, staring into blackness. No eyes. No shape. Just fog and trees and wrong. Then I heard it again, further off, to the other side of the tracks now. I ran. I don't remember running. Just the feeling of gravel flying underfoot, of branches slapping my arms. I didn't stop until I was at Caleb's door, pounding like a maniac. He opened it and just stared at me. "Dude, are you okay?" I wasn't. Not really. Not after that. And I still don't know what was out there. But I know this, I never walked those tracks again.